I'm Mint Salad and I saw Velma. It is directed by Charlie Grandy. More specifically, I'm doing episode 7 Fogfest and episode 8, A Velma in the Woods. So if you haven't seen this, I will spoil it for you. If you don't want to see it, I will definitely tell you what happens. First things first, I have notes because I really wanted to document how much I did not like this, okay? Everyone knows how much I don't like the other Velmas from my previous episodes, if you haven't seen them, but I want to see if these episodes are better, okay? The episode starts, we're seeing, actually, first of all, I noticed that the animation was a little bit cheaper than the other 6 episodes, and by cheaper, I mean there's a lot more use of still frames, there's a lot more use of animating from within still frames, meaning the base drawing is just like maybe 4 people, right? But then all you have to do to animate those 4 people is you only have to animate one person at a time, doing limited movements like maybe a quick hair turn or maybe a quick like blink, which isn't that many frames of animation. I would know, I'm an animator. So now there's Fogfest is happening. What is Fogfest? It's a festival on the pier, fog. It's the foggy beach, okay? They also set up that objects move within this fog. Right quickly at the beginning, when Velma and Daphne were talking to each other at some point when they were a lot younger, they're running towards each other and their clothes switch. Okay, that has been established. The killer is supposed to be at Fogfest, you see, and Velma isn't able to go because she doesn't have a date, but I guess guys can go alone, which honestly doesn't really seem very safe. It just means that this town doesn't really like guys, honestly. That's kind of my read into it. It's, this town wants to protect young women who are the target demographic for the murderer. So it makes sense, yeah, you gotta go with the date versus single guys, go alone. Velma caused the sexism. I call it kind of weird, but it makes sense in a sense that maybe you shouldn't have all the ladies just be alone, okay? There's a serial killer out there to get you. Velma needs to get to the Fogfest because there's the killer. The killer is here. Oh no, what would happen if they killed people at this Fogfest? Also, Velma dresses in a tuxedo suit thing, has her hair down, slicked back, and goes to Fogfest and be like, oh, I'm totally not a woman dressed like a man. And it's like, if we were in reality, I know this is a cartoon, but if we play in reality, like at all, then people would be like, oh, you must be a female dressed as a girl, get to the back of the line, okay? But no, they're like, totally ignore that. They don't care about whatever she just said. They're like, oh my goodness, you're a handsome man. Manny is the name that Velma gives herself for the man version of herself, and then she goes around just being a guy. Here's the most egregious part of this entire episode, okay? First of all, she calls herself Manny, which is fine. It's kind of like my level of disguise if I'm going to be somewhere disguised as a guy. But honestly, that's fine. But what isn't fine, though, she then is like, oh my goodness, I can do anything now that I'm a guy. I can be bad at stand-up comedy. If you've ever watched Kill Tony, no, that's inaccurate. You cannot do, no. You're actually, if you're bad at stand-up comedy, just stop. Just like, it doesn't matter what gender you are. You gotta know, like, comedy. You gotta have it in your blood or something. You can't just be like, oh, and that's what I said, get out of here, lady, and then everyone laughs. It's like, no, actually. Incorrect. I would not laugh at you. I would boo you off stage. I'd probably throw a tampon. Also, this episode wants me to think that men get handed everything in life, but that's literally impossible, okay? How could you get handed everything in life if you're 48% of the population? The minority of the population, by the way, 52% are women. Women get handed everything, actually. That's the more honest truth of it all. If you're a woman, you can get away with a lot more than a man can. Also, I love reading my notes because there's this one part where Velma is walking out of the men's bathroom and is like, oh, they didn't harp on me to wash my hands. And I'm like, is this supposed to be a men don't wash their hands joke? Because it just makes me think that Velma is gross. Like, they didn't, pin her down and be like, hey, you're not washing your hands when you leave. Like, she doesn't normally want to wash her hands like a civilized adult. Please wash your hands every time you use the bathroom. If you don't, then nasty. Velma, you're nasty. I just kind of said ew when Velma said that. I was like, I don't like you, Velma. Why would anyone want to be your friend? No one wants to be your friend because you're disgusting. Also, there's a part where we see Manny talking to Daphne. Daphne is drunk and Daphne's like, oh my goodness, you look so delicious. Meanwhile, these are children. This is underage drinking. I do more care about the fact that she's still saying, oh, I'm still a female dressed as a male. She still keeps bringing it up. And the fact that Daphne apparently supposed to be smart here isn't because she ignores her completely. Or maybe the episode is trying to tell me that everyone ignores Velma for a good reason. But if you just listened with your ears, and I don't know, not with your drinking liver, don't listen with your liver, listen with your ears, Daphne. She's not. She's like, oh, I'm totally going to ignore this. I don't care, okay? I'm going to be like, you look like somebody I know, okay? You look a little like Velma, but I'm not going to be suspicious. No way. But Fred, big old Fred, good on you, Fred. Oh my goodness, Fred. Coming in clutch, rips off Velma's mustache. Must be painful, Velma, having that mustache ripped off of you. I thought it was a disguised mustache, but she said it was her real mustache. And it's like, how could you grown that mustache so quickly? That's literally impossible. There's a limit to how fast human hair can grow. And I thought I grew hair fast. Daphne does a really cool thing. Talking to Velma is not a cool thing that she does. Instead, she's underneath the pier with Velma. They're apologizing. I'm sorry for being such a bad friend. I'm like, this doesn't feel genuine, Velma, okay? You just sound like you're trying to get Daphne to be your friend. You must be very obsessive or something. Daphne sees the killer behind Velma and does not let Velma get stabbed, which is unfortunate. That would end this entire series. I would love to watch a series where we see everyone but Velma in Velma. Would you want to see that? Instead, Daphne kicks. Does a little kick of the little head of the killer. The killer is wearing this metal head thing. So I'm like, oh, must not hurt him because he keeps chasing them. And there's a whole chasing scene gag. Also, this seems to be something like homecoming or prom where there are kings and queens. I wouldn't know. I never went to those dances, but I have performed marching band there. Oh, who's going to be the queen and king? Who is it going to be? Oh, it's Norville and Gigi. I spoiled it for you. There's only one good joke in this entire episode. So, we have Gigi and Norville standing next to the trash can. Gigi is like, I don't like this. Throws the crown into the trash can, right? And then Fred comes along. He's like, oh, a crown! And then he just goes into the trash can. And then while he's in the trash can, he's saying, who's pathetic now, father? While he has a bunch of trash on his head. It's very funny because it's very pathetic. Also, the killer disappears in a puff of smoke, like I mentioned in the fog earlier. Oh yeah, there's a scene that I did not like that much. I was like, oh, this is so cheap. Screw you. You switched the killer's blade with a churro while the killer was about to stab Velma. Man, why couldn't you end this series already? But yeah, there's that. That's the second use. I felt like if they really wanted me to really believe that this is a thing and not just for Velma not to get stabbed, then probably use another case of those fog switching up something before having them switch up the knife with the churro. That should have been the third time it happened, okay? That should have been the third. The killer left his phone. Wow, it's so hilarious. And also, at the end of the last, like the post-credits, after the episode is ended, we see Fred. He's getting napped by the killer. And it's like, no, Fred, do not have me lose Fred. I like Fred. Fred is like the only good character. If you take that away from me, it'll be so sad. That's how the episode ends. Like I mentioned before, the animation's noticeably cheaper. I did notice a little bit of like pen overbleed from transitions from one still to the next still, just like very briefly. And also a lot of the line work, especially around Daphne's collar, was thicker than like her head. It's like, oh, a good way to like clean line work, like make sure no one notices the mistakes of the line work, is really thicken it. And so I found that to be really weird. I was like, wait, why are you having the line art there artistically? Why would you have it thick there? If you're gonna have it thick in one part of the image, have it thick another part of the image. So we know it's more consistent. So we know it's purposeful, not just to cover up a mistake, a drawing mistake. This episode of Velma, Fog Fest, more like Cope Fest. I gotta give this episode a solid 3. There's nothing much else to say about that. Episode 8 of Velma in the Woods. Oh boy, first starts with seeing Velma in the woods and Daphne. And in good old-fashioned Velma sense, she's blaming everything on Daphne. This is all your fault, Daphne. It's like, how did they get here? All right, 2 days ago. Okay, cool, title card inserted. 2 days ago, they have the phone. There's more egregious stuff in this show than just magic hacker powers, okay? There's the fact that last episode, Velma found a phone number with the jinkies that she had. Oh, there's a phone number. Gotta go Fogfest. There's killers there. Thanks. That was But this is this episode. This episode, they hacked the killer's phone using a UV ray. I guess that's not technically hacking, but they see, oh wow, it must be boo 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 boo. I got the passcode. Now we're in. Okay. Now there's a picture. There's one picture. We're at the Crystal Coves. We gotta go there. Now they're going there. Oh wow, Norville and holy diggity dang! Don't you have a nice cabin down there, down at the mountains or the Crystal Coves, at the place we're trying to go? And Norville's like, yeah, I'm gonna ask Gigi because it's hers, and Gigi just wants a time alone with Norville. I understand. She's like, holy diggity dang, why are you so obsessed with Velma? Velma, not a good person. Why is Norville in love with Velma? Okay, that is a question that I want to answer. And if I don't have the answer, I want it to be answered. Velma even lies to Daphne to get her to come. Velma has no more hallucinations, and so Daphne was only going to be there in order to help Velma with her hallucinations, but she's not having them anymore, so there's no reason for Velma and Daphne to be friends. But Daphne is hanging out with a chick, and Velma is jealous of that chick, so Velma lies to Daphne saying she does have hallucinations to get her to go on the camping trip, the cabin trip. I was gonna be mad if they were gonna do a cabin in the woods, because if they even tried to touch the premise of cabin in the woods and not doing it well, I would have been so mad. Cabin in the woods, perfect. Fred is kidnapped. Yeah, he was kidnapped since the end credit scene. But where is he? He's with 3 brains. Oh, those brains, the ones that were removed from those girls. Yeah, they're being preserved, and they're talking brains jars, and they're annoying. Fred is apparently drinking the goo, the brain goo, and having lots of sex with the brain goo. Of course, this isn't shown, but in classic Fred dialogue, perfect. Man, this is hilarious because Fred is believably supposed to be like a garbage person within his elite family. Because he doesn't know how to, like, cut his own food? Yeah. I wouldn't say garbage person. I'd say he's more like a childlike person is probably the closest thing I can really think of that. Childlike person. But would a child have sex with brain juice? I should also mention, even though Fred is very good, a very bad part is the lesbian mom is being meta now. They're talking about, debating about title cards, when to use them. Man, audiences won't know unless there's a title card. And then there's a title card throughout the rest of the episode. This title card be like, oh, this is what we're doing now. I'm like, great, thanks. You know what this really makes me think it is? Velma in the Cope should be the name of the episode. Those precious seconds used just to have black and white text on screen. Those money that's supposed to be used to animate that equals a person's time, labor. That labor and time could be spent towards another part of the episode. Which, by the way, this episode still is very still-framey to me, except for in the action moments where they're falling through the ravine several times. Also, speaking of ravine, Velma, she's like, oh, you guys just gonna accept that you guys are in your own filth? And it's like, oh, did Velma piss herself? Thanks, thank you so much. And then they fall again, deservedly so. And they fall into some mines, find Fred via these mines. Honestly, at this point, I'm like, oh, I'm actually enjoying the only part of the show that's good, other than Fred, is that we have the Crystal Cove mines. Is this part where we're at is an extension of these Crystal Cove mines. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. This is intriguing. Let's continue further. Now Velma has no more hallucinations so she can find her mother. How is she gonna find her mother if people think she's dead? Oh, we found Fred. Oh, wow. Ravine is cracking because it was established earlier. Oh, the caves, if you speak louder than a whisper, the caves are gonna collapse. So they go to find Fred. And they find Fred, and Fred is running. Take note of this because this is also the only good joke in this episode, coming from Fred yet again. Fred is running towards the entrance of the cave. He screams, help. Then the cave starts to collapse. And then he says, oh no, I have to yell louder to be heard over this collapsing cave. Help! And then he screams help, and the cave collapses on him. I found that to be funny. What I didn't find to be funny is during this collapsing cave, we have Norville and Gigi working out the relationship issues because Norville tried to save Velma over Gigi. So obviously Norville likes Velma more, just like at a biological standpoint, it seems like. Instinctual standpoint is probably the more correct term. During these caves going a-rumbling, one of the cars goes down, and then they are driving through this collapsing cave. And are they gonna make it? Also, who is they? I didn't mention this. Velma is collapsing. Someone grabs her from like the collapsing ravine underneath her. Grabs her from free fall. It's Velma's mother. And I'm like, oh, actually, I was not expecting this at all. And then we have Velma's mother, who I didn't see before any of this point. Velma's mother is driving this crazy car out of this collapsing cave. And because of the collapsing cave, the car that I just mentioned before, collapsing underneath, they drive on top of that car like a ramp, and they get out safely. And then they have a big ol' hug before Fred ruining this moment goodly by saying, oh, these brains stink, the jars are starting to stink. It's like, yeah, you put not brain goo, preserver goo in that goo. You put your goo in that goo. Also, Velma asks out Daphne, which is fine. I didn't like the mom being used for convenient, so I gotta give this episode, a 3. They're both 3s. If you like this review, like, comment, subscribe, share this video with everyone you know. The ultimate goal of this channel is for me to become an expert movie reviewer, so if I haven't reviewed it on the channel, there's a chance I haven't even seen it at all. If you'd like to request a movie in the comments, you can do that. You can fast track a movie review request, patreon.com, ASEPresents. $20 a month, one movie review for 1 month. $3, how to draw Pokemon, will be posted there early. And if you'd like to help support the daily grindiness of all these daily movie reviews, you can go to this link tree. It really helps with daily grindiness. And until next time, I'm Mint Salad Sauce. See you later, my salad croutons and bacon bits.